The continual attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion by Donald Trump and his MAGA minions continues. This time, the Department of Education cutting a Biden-era grant that focused on expanding racial representation in classes K through 12. School districts from Anchorage, Alaska, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Miami-Dade, along with other places, they were expected to finish out their grants with millions of dollars still left to support the urban districts. However, the Department of Education has now withdrawn the funding. Kayla, Patrick Calloway, a senior fellow at the Century Foundation, is here to joins us right now. Kayla, glad to have you here. First and foremost, Kayla, how much money we're talking about?
So we were talking about at least $22 million that the grantees were still owed from the Federal Department of Education. They had planned and expected around that money, and now that money is no longer available to them.
And again, what was the money being used for?
So this was a locally driven strategy. So it was for fostering school diversity, whether that be socioeconomic diversity or racial diversity. We know those two things are often linked. So districts were using innovative strategies to engage families and community members. We had one grantee engage over 20,000 parents in their district to come up with a plan for school diversity. Lots of the grants that were canceled that you just mentioned, including New York and Alaska, were bringing in advanced coursework, art classes, things that they wouldn't otherwise have the funding to support, in order to entice students and parents to come to schools that they wouldn't otherwise go to. And they were seeing success for over the last 2 years in bringing more diversity into their schools.
And clearly, for Trump folks, they don't give a damn about diversity. They don't care.
It would seem so, right? So they're canceling these grants. They're not asking educators. They aren't asking parents what they want. These districts raised their hand. They said, we want this money to do this work. And the Federal Department of Education didn't ask them what they were doing or how they were spending the money before they canceled these grants.
So what's next for these school districts? What do they do?
I think some districts are scrambling as we speak to figure that out. So some districts are saying they're going to find the money elsewhere. We know that school districts are already strapped. They don't have enough money as it is. We weren't doing what we should be doing in terms of funding or fully funding schools across the country. And so some districts are saying they're going to look for money elsewhere. Unfortunately, that won't be the case for all of these grantees. Some of these programs will no longer exist.
And look, we're seeing this all across the board. And as I've said from the outset, what they want to do is they desperately want to defund Black America. They are attacking anything that deals with diversity. They do not care. What these folks want to see is a white America. When they say make America great again, they mean make America largely white again.
We're also saying that, already we're not doing great in terms of school diversity. We are seeing schools be as segregated as they were in the 60s. And without the federal government intervening, that could just get worse. We've seen it get worse over the last decade or so. We've seen great strides in the 90s. Graduation rates were higher, academic achievement was higher, and school diversity was at its highest rate. And so now you're pulling the rug from under these districts and making them scramble to figure out how to continue programs that we know make a difference for students and particularly Black students in this country.
Questions from the panel. Renita, you first.
Yeah, I know from personal experience, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and then in the 8th grade, my dad had our family move to Lakeland, Florida. And when we got there, a lot of the schools were, as you say, just as segregated as in the 60s. And so they got federal grants they got busted by the federal government, the Lakeland public school system. And a part of the fix to make them desegregate their schools was to actually set up busing programs that would take kids like myself who lived in predominantly Black neighborhoods and bus them 30 minutes away to schools that were not in their neighborhoods. Do you know if any of the money that is included in that, the money that's being rescinded now or not going to be given, will have anything to do with busing students? I mean, because this could really just be a major upheaval for students when you're talking about having, if they're not able to get transportation to the school that they have already been attending. It's the middle of the school year.
It is the middle of the school year, so that's critically important. We're in September. These districts have already planned for the next school year, and they were making plans to spend this money. And so we see a few of these districts will have said that they have 6 to 10 staffers that they will no longer be able to support because this money is no longer available to them. I don't know of any districts using the money for busing, but I do know that districts have been reevaluating transportation plans. We have one grantee that hadn't had an evaluation of district lines or transportation in 30 years. And in that particular state, the state was giving them less money because their bus routes were inefficient. So what they were doing was talking to parents and families to figure out how to create some efficiency with their bus routes and at the same time create more school diversity. And so they will no longer be able to do that work because they no longer have access to these dollars.
Scott?
Yeah, thank you for joining us this evening. I guess my question is, whenever budgets get tight, whenever we lose funding with my clients, I always talk to them about alternatives, alternative funding, right? Are there state grants or state monies that can replace these monies for these school districts? Are there private donations, private foundations, private trust, if you will, that the administration or those school districts could tap to fill in the blank, if you will, to fill in for this loss? It sounds these diversity programs sound like not only are they preparing the students to deal with diversity right now, but also to go out into the world, into the country, right, and how they shape their socioeconomic view towards the country and the world, literally. It just seems like such an invaluable program. Any alternative fundings that these districts can tap into or try to until we can either get these grants back, somebody files a lawsuit, or just to permanently replace them because of the value ROI?
I think you're exactly right. I think school diversity is critically important, and public education is important because it builds a foundation for students to learn alongside each other and become and work in diverse communities eventually. And it's the foundation of our democracy. So it's critically important that we create diverse school environments. I am not aware of any private dollars that are to this date are funding school diversity efforts. I think it is a moment for states to step up and say, hey, this is important. I've heard some districts say that their district leadership is going to continue this work, and that's excellent. But every district isn't able to do that work, especially in our districts that are already underfunded at the state level. And so it's time to really call on our leaders to invest in strategies that we know are research-backed and we know that work.
Thank you.
All right, then. Well, again, I just keep telling people, this is what we say, elections have consequences. For the folks who chose not to vote Vice President Kamala Harris and who have stayed at home or supported Donald Trump, well, here you go.
Yep.
And this is what happens. Kayla, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.